It's outrageous. Under Mike Johnson, we're losing the majority, Steve. And President Trump is right. He should be angry because Gallagher is refusing to leave early. And if Mike Johnson was a leader and he was in control of Congress and our conference, he would force Gallagher to leave, win that district before the deadline so they could hold a special election. Steve, I'll tell you, I was at the tire shop here in my hometown of Rome, Georgia today, and people were asking me about it. They're outraged. Everywhere I go in my district, everyone is so angry at Mike Johnson. And one guy said it to me like this. He goes, do they have Mike Johnson's wife tied up somewhere and have a gun to her head? What is wrong with Mike Johnson? And everything you just explained, people can't even comprehend who he is and what he is doing. But I'll put it to you like this. I think he's been promoted to be the senior partner at the firm. And you know what that means. He is not working for Republicans. He is not helping Republicans. He's not even listening to Republicans. He is doing the very dirty work of the deep state, and it happens fast and shocking. Let me give everyone a little brief history lesson. September 28, 2023, the last time the House held a vote on Ukraine funding was on the $300 million that I had forced out of the Department of Defense bill. And they took it out of the bill, and we had a separate floor vote on sending only $300 million to Ukraine. 117 Republicans voted no. That was the majority of the vote. Only 101 Republicans voted yes. That has been the last time we've had a vote for it. So for Mike Johnson to actually think that his Republican conference supports sending $60 billion to Ukraine, he is a damn fool, Steve. The last vote, which was, here we are, April 2nd, 2024. The last vote was September 28th, 2023. This is, not that long ago. The last vote we had on funding for Ukraine, $300 million. The majority of the majority voted no to sending that money. And yes, we are not supposed to. It's not specifically in our rules, but he is not supposed to go against the majority of the majority. That's a House tradition. It should not be broken by our Republican speaker. Secondly, Steve, let's ramp it up a little further. Recent polling in February came out and showed that 70% of Americans are against funding Ukraine. 70% of Americans specifically want a peace agreement in Ukraine. So not only is Speaker Mike Johnson, our Republican Speaker of the House, going against the majority of his conference, but he's also going against the will of 70% of Americans. That's not just Republicans. That's all Americans. Everyone I've talked to agrees with me. They do not want him to be Speaker of the House. This is the whole reason why we elected Donald Trump to be president, because we were done with the Republican Party that burns us every time, lies to our faces while we donate to them and we vote for them, and they turn around and go to Washington and just continue business as usual. This really is a referendum. Donald Trump was a referendum on the Republican Party, and they aren't listening. They aren't listening. So everybody I've talked to in my district, people I've talked to across the country, they totally agree that he needs to be vacated. But here's what they're worried about. They're worried about us losing the majority. And I am too, Steve. I don't want to lose the majority. I will never do anything to cause us to lose the majority and Hakeem Jeffries become speaker. But let's be realistic. The only way that happens is if a Republican in our conference votes for Hakeem Jeffries. And are you going to tell me Don Bacon or Fitzpatrick or one of these other moderates are going to actually vote for Hakeem Jeffries? No, they're not going to. This is an election year. Those guys have to have Republican voters in their districts to get reelected. And even in a really tight district, a Biden district that a Republican represents, they are not going to vote for Hakeem Jeffries to be Speaker of the House. That would be a betrayal that would cause them to lose their re-election. It's just not going to happen. The only way Hakeem Jeffries becomes Speaker of the House is if Mike Johnson keeps doing what he's doing and more Republicans leave. That is simple math. The more Republicans leave, the more Democrats have the control. MTG on all of my social medias. And listen, the Federalist just put out a really big piece against Mike Johnson today. Compared him to Mitch McConnell, Steve. Mitch McConnell has a 6% approval rating among Republicans. And, it's not just me saying this. And I'll tell you right now, Steve, there's more members, Republican members, I'm not naming names, but I'm not giving numbers, that are with me on this motion to vacate.
Sure, go ahead.
Here's Mike Johnson, Speaker of the House. I mean, we support our energy in this country. My God, we want America First energy. All of us want that. We want the strongest oil and gas industry in the world in America. But Mike Johnson is trying to sweeten this deal to give $60 billion to Ukraine with a little hook, and that is supporting the LNG industry in Louisiana. So, I mean, you can't even make this up. It's all about serving his donors. He thinks everybody are a bunch of idiots. I mean, here we are. We're giving $1 billion a month. Did you know that $1 billion every month goes to Ukraine to pay for their government, pay for their pensions, just to keep their lights on in that government? And for Mike Johnson to think that he can sell this as a loan, like the American people are going to get paid back by the most corrupt country on earth, is like playing us like we're a bunch of damn fools. I mean, it's unbelievable.